fire burning in the jungle, but the man was hid from sight. As the train slowed down, I wondered, who's in the jungle tonight? Who's in the jungle tonight? Who's cooking up the stew? Who's in the jungle tonight? I don't know, I'm just passing through. When this cold old boxcar stops, you know I'd love to get out, but I am heading east, not catching a fast train south. I'd walk across that bridge, warm my hands by the fire at last, talk about old friends, reminisce about the past, saying who's in the jungle tonight, who's cooking up the stew, who's in the jungle tonight. I don't know, I'm just passing through. Has anyone heard from Alabama? What about Fry Pan Jack? Did you hear about the Hard Rock Kid? He bought the whole thing a while back. There'd be a scared young kid in the corner, not knowing quite what to do, sitting next to a tired old man who is mumbling in his stew. Who's in the jungle tonight? Who's cooking up the stew? Who's in the jungle tonight? Well, I'll soon know too. Oh, who's in the jungle tonight? Who is cooking up the stew? Who's in the jungle tonight?
You know, the real reason that most of the boats come here every year is to see each other. We sit around, we talk, we tell stories. It gives a chance for the old-timers to reminisce about their lives.
I went on the road when I was 13, and I've traveled with the old-timers until I was 20 years old. I settled down, got married, and raised a family, and become a working stiff like everybody else. I held a job for 40 years. I was a cement finisher, worked in concrete, raised a family. My family, I got grandchildren. My family got growing, they all moved away. My knees got bad, I couldn't work anymore, so I went back to riding the freights again. Just like you'd go fishing or go hunting. I'd go out for a few days riding the freights. Then I started going a few more days, and I started going a week. Pretty soon I was going a month. Pretty soon I was going 6 months. And that's been the last 10 years I've been on the road.
I can't beat that, can I?
I was on the road during my hobo days for about 7 years. And I was getting up to the age where I was thinking of the future more than I had in the past, so I thought I'd get a job and settle down a while. I did. I got a job. And I stayed there quite a while, and I met a girl, married her. I've been married to her for 42 years now, and I worked for this company after I settled down for 40 years, and I haven't ridden a train since that time. But I do like to come to these conventions and meet some of the real old-time hobos. Some of these guys around here are not really hobos, but some of the old-timers are, and I enjoy talking with them. I enjoy being around the jungle fire, listening to them talk, and renewing acquaintance. I enjoy that thoroughly.
Well, if we was in a hurry, we'd have went some other mode of transportation.
If you want to get there on time, you take the dog. That's the way it goes.
And it isn't nothing to get off where there's a problem across the tracks, and the first train's going another direction. There ain't even direction you start out. You catch that first train and go.
Now, you must be destitute, friend.
No, that is not
you're going to have a destination here, you're going to be destitute. If you're going someplace, you stay there till you get something.
Oh, no.
Sometimes.
Well, you might have to detour a little, but you're eventually going to get to where you're
Now, sometimes it don't make any difference where you're going. You just want to go someplace.
It gives us a chance to form bonds between ourselves, which is real nice.
When'd you get on the road, Fry Pan?
Well, a young fellow, about 14 or 15 years old, in 1928. My sister sent me uptown to get a loaf of bread. So on the way uptown, I looked up and the passenger train was leaving LeGrand, Oregon. Do you know where LeGrand, Oregon is?
Yes, on the UP.
Well, that's the UP. Well, I just reached up and grabbed the back end of that unit up there, and I climbed into that plane. Well, it was about 9 years before my sister see me, and I'm walking down the street in Seattle, and she reaches over and taps me on the shoulder. She says, I looked around at her a minute. I said, hi, sis. Don't hi me. She says, where in the hell's my goddamn loaf of bread, she says. I said, I'm just going to go get it. She says, you're not going to get nothing from me no more. She says, you're coming home now.
Play around, feel good, feel great. Gives us a chance for us youngsters here to learn what there is to learn from the old-timers. But we have our gaff to play. That means a gaff is something you do to get by. And what we do here is we elect a king every year, and that's primarily for the tourists and the folks at Britt who come here. They get a lot of excitement out of it and a lot of pleasure. And in return, the city of Britt puts on this convention for us every year. The way it works, what they do, we all go up behind the municipal building, and they've got an old flatbed trailer that they pull in there, and all the hobos get up on it, the king candidates and the queen candidates. We sit down up there, and we get introduced by the MC of the talent show.
Candidate and reigning king of the hobos, welcome, Skin Train Murray.
Thank you, dear friends. Glad to be here another year. And I might make a little short report of what's happened in the last year. I've been very busy.
And they give us 2 minutes to talk to the crowds about, whatever we want to talk about. Some folks just sort of ramble.
It's a long name. James Harrison Franklin Langford Open Road, Esquire the Fourth. The reason why I use that Esquire the Fourth, at one time I'd come up the ladder. I was fourth in line for the throne of King of the Hobos. Then I dropped down to sixth, then back up to third, then down to fourth, then back up to second, then down to 7, and now I'm back at 4. But I never able to reach that top ring in the ladder. And I told him if I could get the title 1 year, I'd be happy. Since there's only a handful of us left, and as we walk into the sunset of Hobo Oblivion, when the last one goes, that's it.
The convention's like every place else. You got people that disagree. We've every year had disagreements between certain folks, and it flares up into arguments, but we try to settle them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't.
The Pennsylvania Kier.
Well, I guess I don't care whether I win the kingship or not. We got a lot of trouble. We've been having trouble ever since they come here. And they want to kill the Pennsylvania Kid. That's good. They killed Jesus Christ, too. That's what makes sense. That's great. They always talk about the hobos. I'll guarantee you that they haven't been on the road as long as I have. Not as long as I have. Not bragging, nothing. And I ain't going to cry about it whether I get it or not, because I'm king every place I go. So I ain't got nothing to do.
Frying Pan Jack. Frying Pan Jack.
I'll get myself on. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Frying Pan Jack. I got 52 years on the road. I'm just a young comer going down the road. But I'm sorry this thing had to happen on the platform. We have a little bitter enemy between the two of us. But he is a good man, and he has traveled many years on the road. And I have to honor him for his way of traveling. So, you know yourself, there's only way that you can pick a king of the hobos if you loosen your arm up and clap. That is what lets the king of the hobos today. So I'm going to sign off now and keep the thing peace and quiet.
I thank you very much.
They judge us on how much applause everybody gets, you feel. Just like Queen for a Day.
Mr. Nobody. Mountain Dew. King, but also candidate. Candidate, Steam Train Murray.
Portland Gray.
Pennsylvania Kier. Re-elected King of the Hobos, Steam Train Murray.
Well, I have no desire to be king of the hobos because I'm not of executive type, and I don't like to do corresponding, and requires more time than I care to put into it. I have to be more carefree or more loose, I might say, and I don't want to be bound down or held down to anything here. Like Maury, he's always traveling to these homes and one thing and another, visiting jails and things like that. Well, I'm not that type, and so consequently, I don't want to be a hobo king, even if I could have been, but I wouldn't, and I know it couldn't be, like the man says. And to quote a certain writer here way back, he says, the glories of our blood and state are shadows, not substantial things. Death lays his icy hand on kings. There is no armor against fate.
Well, we come up here to Britt, see old buddies, and we like to talk and like to spread it around. We're trying to keep a dying thing from dying, if possible. But when the old steam went out, it's different. The old steam whistle just gets you itching every time you get moving. Any bow that travel in at all, you just squirming like you're sitting on a bunch of pins, and your feet get itchy. Mine does ever so often when I'm saddling. My feet are now getting a little itchy, so I'll be Sunday or Monday morning, we'll all be moving on. So I'll move all over the country. I got friends all over, got keys to 2 or 3 places, and just like one of the family, and that makes a man feel good. And that's where you're rich in friendship. That's something that you can't buy. You take Hobo Bill, the man cannot die. He's had more heart attacks than any human. So he writes to everybody, and he's very good, a good friend.
Well, this is Hobo Bill talking. M.L. Maynard, really, from Central Illinois. I'm past 72, almost 73. I've had a lot of health problems recently, heart problems, and I fell and broke my hip last month. I just got a repair in a steel ball joint in the middle of last month, so it was very difficult for me to come to the Hobo Convention steam train.
Yeah, I know it was.
Very difficult.
I know.
But I just felt that I had to make this 1980 convention for more than one reason, because it's dwindling so fast. Every year, there's 1 or 2 or 3. The circle is broken, and at least 1 or 2 or 3 friends are no more.
He was a friend of mine. He was a friend of mine. He died without a penny. He didn't have a dime. He was a friend of mine. He died down on the Gila Bend Run. He died down on the Gila Bend Run. His wandering days are over. His lonely nights are done. And he was a friend of mine. You know now I stole away and cried. I stole away
King
and
David II, Ben Benson, Skeet Simmons, Highway Johnny Weaver, Arizona Bill,
He was a friend of mine. He was a friend of mine. His wandering days are over. His lonely nights are done.
Then we were products of depression, but I myself, I imagine I could have controlled my destinies more or less. Every man can if he tries. But, like a lot of young fellows, I imagine I had a nomadic bent or a peripatetic feeling and curiosity of what happens over there. So that's how we more or less, most of them became hobos. And most of your hobos, I'd say, they come from the poorer class of people, and they were more or less in search of work, see?
Well, hobos has always worked every place we went. We made hay harvest, we made apple harvest, we made the corn harvest up in Minnesota, the sweet pea harvest. But when Dad died, wasn't nothing but me. But the funny thing about the way Dad got me started, him and my mother separated. And he'd come in and he said, "Boy," he said, "you going to stay with your mama or you going with me?" I said, "Well, I'm going with you, Dad." We called the Santa Fe cattle car and we went. And I knew in 20 miles that's what I was going to do the rest of my life.
And it looks like I'm never gonna cease my wandering. I've been working in the army, working on the farm, and all I've got to show is the muscle in my arm. And it looks like I'm never gonna cease my wandering. Now the bright stars above me, the green grass on the ground, I've been searching for something that I have never found. And it looks like I'm never gonna cease my wandering. I've been traveling early, traveling late, from New York City to the Golden Gate. And it looks like I'm never gonna cease my wandering. Now it's ashes to ashes, and it's dust unto dust. If the railroad doesn't get you, then the bread line must. But it looks like I'm never gonna cease my wandering.